Good afternoon. It's Monday, October 5. I'm Vashon Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green says insurance for fisherfolk is one of the things he's committed to addressing. It's one of the concerns raised at a public forum hosted for local fisherfolk in St. Catherine recently.
At a recent public forum in St. Catherine, fisherfolks were given the opportunity to highlight their grosses to Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green. Atop their list of concerns was a lack of insurance for the fishing sector. It's a matter they claim is in desperate need of government's intervention.
Over the years, you find out that fishermen were not insured because the insurance company were saying that they are hulls, they are not really metal boats. But we have engines which cost a lot, and the boats also cost a lot. But reasoning be, to be fair, I think the government should play a vital part in what's happening.
They say they would love to insure their vessels, but insurance companies does not give them that option.
There's no opportunity to go and insure. Insurance company are saying that the industry is high risk, individuals are very high risk. So if they even should go ahead and insure us, it will be for some ridiculous fees. It costs us 1.5 million to have a 28-foot boat and a 40 horsepower engine. And that can't be insured. And if there's a natural disaster or anything should happen to you and your vessel out there, you're on your own. But you're still required to pay your fees at the NFA.
In 2018, Grenada's Ministry of Fisheries began providing compensation for assets damaged during extreme weather conditions. It's a move Minister Green is hoping to emulate, but first, he says he will meet with the private sector to work on the matter.
I have already committed that I am going to start engaging a lot of our private partners to see if they can craft an insurance policy that can help our fisherfolk across the length and breadth of Jamaica. I think it's a valid issue. I think it's an issue that we can conquer, and I want to work together with the private sector to see how we can conquer that.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The tropical depression which has been impacting Jamaica with heavy rains is now Tropical Storm Delta. The Meteorological Service says the storm, located south of the island, is expected to continue producing heavy showers and thunderstorms across sections of most parishes today, continuing into tonight. The flash flood watch in effect for low-lying and flood-prone areas of all parishes remains until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Fishers and other small craft operators are advised not to venture out as sea conditions will deteriorate in the vicinity of showers, thunderstorms and gusty winds. Those at sea should exercise extreme caution. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Delta is expected to move away from Jamaica later today and move near or over the Cayman Islands later tonight and approach the Isle of Youth and western Cuba tomorrow, when it is expected to become a hurricane. The country's coronavirus case count now stands at 7,012. 117 cases of the coronavirus were recorded yesterday. According to the Health Ministry, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. James, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, Manchester and Westmoreland recorded cases of the virus. Meanwhile, there were no deaths in the last 24 hours from the respiratory illness. And as the government continues its fight against the coronavirus, at least one area is now under pressure: the country's prisons. With reports of overcrowding in some of these facilities, the question is enough being done to prevent the spread of the virus in these detention facilities? We have more in this report.
Last month, TVJ News reported on positive cases in two of the island's correctional facilities. These were at the Torres Street Adult Correctional Facility, which saw 2 cases on the 21st, and 4 at the Horizon Adult Correctional Facility. Since then, discussions have been held between the National Security Ministry and the Public Defender Arlene Harrison Henry to ensure adequate measures are in place. When our news center spoke with Minister without Portfolio in the Security Ministry, Matthew Samuda, this morning, he said another meeting is to be held with the Public Defender to continue discussions on the COVID-19 safety protocols at prison facilities. There have been positive cases among staff and inmates at 7 of the 11 facilities. Mr. Samuda said an independent entity is to review the measures.
I think it was a fruitful discussion. The suggestions were put on the table from both sides, and I think updates will be provided at the very next meeting. To be clear, we've been trying to adhere to standards from the UN and from the CDC and WHO that have listed all sorts of recommendations for correctional facilities globally. So our own plans have taken into consideration those recommendations, and we've put in place the investment and the systems necessary. And that is why it took 6 months from COVID being in Jamaica for COVID to actually get into any of our facilities.
He says that the measures will be tweaked where necessary to prevent the spread of the respiratory illness.
Obviously, we want to ensure that we put in more sterilization stations, that we ensure that there's monitoring, that people are wearing the masks that we have distributed. Because distributing them is one thing, but getting human behavior to change is sometimes difficult. So that's a major step that we need to kind of step up on to ensure that people actually use what has been given to them.
On the weekend, 14 new positive cases of COVID-19 were reported at the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center. 2 staff members at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center are also in isolation after returning positive tests. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
And we now take a break on the midday news, but please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. Schools reopened today with psychosocial sessions for students who have been out of class for the last 6 months. In a national broadcast last evening, Education Minister Favour Williams said the sessions will be held from today to Wednesday. Mrs. Williams said some students have been affected by the lack of interaction with their peers and changes in their routines.
Some children have had to relocate, and we have had to do transfers for these students. We've even had recent cases of suicide, and some students and parents would have lost family members, among other disruptions in their families. The psychosocial sessions will seek to address their mental health and well-being, improve their capacity to cope with the emotional challenges, and will help to mitigate the impact of the stresses in their environment.
Mrs. Williams says schools have been directed to develop their own psychosocial plans, which will be monitored by the Education Ministry. In addition, the ministry will provide counseling support. In the meantime, Mrs. Williams says the distribution of textbooks will begin today.
The textbooks and workbooks will be available through the schools for pickup during the first week of the remote learning. Every student will have the government-issued textbooks and worksheets where applicable. Under the National Textbook Loan Scheme and the Primary Textbook Program, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is providing educational resources to include electronic resources such as apps at a cost of approximately $826 million.
And some schools are facing internet challenges due to the weather condition now across the island. It has led some students and teachers not being able to access the various educational platform systems. Now this as the cloud coverage and rain is affecting reliable internet service for some. Our news team spoke with the acting principal of the Galena Primary School in St. Mary.
Unfortunately this morning, because of the rain, the internet is down.
It's down?
Yes, it's down.
So some of your students been affected then?
So some of them will be affected this morning. But what we are trying to do is get data on the teacher's phone so that they can still engage, although the internet is down.
There is also a similar situation in St. Elizabeth. Complaints have also come from parents about challenges accessing the Zoom platform and Google Classroom. The surge island to Trinityville Main Road in St. Thomas is now impassable following heavy rains over the weekend. The detour at Font Hill that was created for motorists is also impassable.
Along the main road as well, there has been flooding, and on the Coley to Cedar Valley Main Road, there was a temporary bypass road, a detour road actually, and that area is now impassable because of the heavy rain.
Sonia Brown, a resident of Georgia, told the TVJ News that the road has been in a deplorable condition and the heavy rains only made matters worse. She's calling for the authorities to intervene.
Just now, I actually made it as far as the bypass road in funtail, but we're not able to pass, as I said before, because the area has been cut off. But there's erosion along the roadway. The road was already in a terrible state for years now due to neglect, due to the rainy conditions, and it is worse now.
She added that the danger is looming for some residents living in the community who need medical attention.
Now, if you're sick, you'll have to stay in because there's only a clinic nearby, and that clinic is currently closed because most of the nurses are from outside of the area. So that's closed. The hospital is all the way in license. So we can't pass now, so we just have to pray that the rain stops soon and the authority sends some sort of equipment to clear up the area.
A woman is now in police custody and 3 men on the run after police in St. Thomas intercepted a crew suspected to be involved in the stealing of several goats in the White Horses area yesterday. The woman has been identified as 48-year-old Vanessa Baxter of Waterford, St. Catherine. TVJ News understands that the police, acting on information, stopped and searched a red Toyota Wish motorcar in which the goats were found. The police say 3 men ran from the vehicle. This has been the second attempt of goat larceny in the parish in just a matter of weeks. 3 weeks ago, the Yalas police intercepted a coaster bus with 8 goats. News overseas now. U.S. President Donald Trump is facing criticism for taking a spin outside the hospital where he's getting treated for the coronavirus. Details from the CNN.
A political photo op meant as a show of strength, raising questions this morning about how seriously the White House is taking the president's COVID-19 diagnosis. President Trump being driven past supporters outside Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, seen through his SUV window, wearing a face mask and waving to his supporters, a member of his Secret Service detail in personal protective gear. The drive-by prompting outcry from medical experts who question Trump's judgment and his doctors.
Amazingly irresponsible. His physician should have said no.
An attending physician at Walter Reed Hospital who is not treating the president had this response.
I have a hard time believing that without undue influence based on their chain of command, that those physicians would have cleared that. Masks or no masks, being inside a vehicle that is hermetically sealed circulates virus inside and potentially puts people at risk.
The White House saying this event was cleared by Trump's medical team.
I don't think this was a stunt at all. I think this was President Trump showing people that he's very gracious for the hospitality they've shown him.
The president also releasing a video recorded in the hospital saying he had learned a lot about the virus, more than 8 months after the first U.S. cases were reported.
I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school. This isn't the let's read the book school. And I get it, and I understand it.
Meanwhile, Trump's doctor saying he is receiving an aggressive cocktail of medications, including a 5-day treatment of antiviral drug remdesivir, the steroid dexamethasone, and an experimental antibody treatment.
And time now for sports. The leading rider Anthony Thomas continues to extend his lead atop of the jockey standings as he bagged another impressive 5 winners on Sunday's 8 race card at Caymanas Park. As Denise Walters reports, Thomas is now 13 clear of nearest rival Day Nelson.
It was the Anthony Thomas show at Caymanas Park on Sunday as the leading rider continued his rich vein of form, grabbing his second 5-timer within a week. In a dominant performance, the 2018 champion jockey landed the first event aboard Mr. Universe. He went on a rampage riding Ocean Wave, Access Soup, and My Episode to victory in races 5, 6, and 7. Thomas rounded out his incredible performance, piloting Sir Alton to a hat-trick of wins in the non-restricted overnight allowance contest, going over 6 furlongs.
So Alton out in front under Anthony Thomas. He changes his hold and asks for everything. Peking Cruz is the closest pursuer on the outside, but Sir Alton continues to hold the gallop well inside the final furlong and begins to float away from them. Truly amazing now, coming with a late run, but needs to find 6, maybe even more, as Sir Alton is galloping away from them. Anthony Thomas has his 5-timer. They win by almost 6.
Sir Alton, with 2 stakes recording back-to-back victories under his belt, won by a commanding 5 lengths in a very fast 1 minute 10 and 2/5.
Yeah, basically, everybody want to win, so everybody come and give them all, everybody just want to do their best.
Racing continues on Saturday. Denise Walters for TVJ Sports.
And Denise will have a more comprehensive report in Primetime Sports later on. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon and have a wonderful week.